When Logan asked me to pick up his phone from the repair shop, I figured it was one of those little domestic side quests where, at the end, you get a "thanks, babe" and permission to keep living in the illusion that your life is normal. Turns out, it was a quest from a different category. Find out where you got sold and try not to choke on it. Logan and I lived in Chicago. Or more accurately, we lived in an apartment he called ours. And I called until he changes his mind. Logan was the kind of man who knew how to look reliable. Expensive watch, calm voice, confident movements, all the right words. He never raised his tone. He just decided how things were going to be. Back then, I had a job, regular shifts, regular exhaustion, and the regular dream that life would, just once, stop asking me to push through. Logan showed up when I was least prepared for a savior. It happened in a normal store, in a normal line. Some guy behind me was acting like the entire world owed him, shoving, commenting, rushing the cashier, and then deciding I was a convenient target because I was standing there quietly and not snapping back. "Do you even know how to move?" He spat at me. I'd already opened my mouth to say something worthy, but dignity is an expensive habit, and at the time, I only had exhaustion. And then Logan appeared beside me, in an expensive coat, with that calm movie face that usually means this guy is about to put the jerk in his place, beautifully. "Are you okay?" he asked me, not even looking at the guy. And to the guy, he said so quietly and evenly that, for some reason, the man instantly deflated. "Take a step back. You're in the way." No threats, no scene, just the tone of someone people normally listen to. The guy mumbled something and backed off. Everyone in line pretended nothing happened, because that's how people survive. And Logan smiled at me like we'd known each other forever. "Sorry for the show," he said. "You don't have to absorb other people's bad days." And he left me his business card. Yes, a business card. I know. It sounds like the beginning of one of those stories narrated in the voice of, "And that's when I still didn't know." But I had a weak moment, a person who didn't require me to be strong. Logan texted later, then again. Then he asked me for coffee, then dinner. He knew how to court someone. Not cute flowers at the subway, the kind that makes something click in your head. I'm seen. I'm chosen. I'm finally not the backup plan. He didn't ask what I liked. He brought what I would definitely like. At first I laughed. "You don't even know me." He'd answer, "I want to." And it sounded like a promise. A few months later, I was living with him. He said it like he was commenting on the weather. "Why are you renting that little shoebox? Move in. I don't want you getting so tired." "I don't want you getting so tired" was basically his favorite line. It packaged everything perfectly, care and control. "You should quit your job," he'd say. "You're burning out." "But," I'd start. "I'll take care of it. I'm here." I quit because I really was tired, and because there was a man beside me promising, "I'll take care of it." Now I understand. When you stop having your own money, you stop being loved and become convenient. But back then, I just wanted to believe. Logan traveled for work a lot. That was the norm. Sometimes a day, sometimes a week. Sometimes he'd bolt last minute. "New York," he'd say, tightening the strap on his suitcase. "Investors, meetings, paperwork." New York sounded solid. New York sounded like a reason not to ask questions. Every time he came back with gifts, like he was trying to buy the time he didn't spend with me. A bracelet, perfume, a book because you like reading, and that smile, "I missed you." And then he'd leave again, and it all could have stayed normal, if not for one thing he was weirdly obsessed with. "I want a baby," Logan would say. "I'm ready." He said it so often I started noticing. It wasn't a dream. It was a project. Let's do it a little later, I'd ask carefully. We haven't even... I didn't say we're not married, because it sounded too blunt, but he understood. It'll happen, he'd answer. We'll make it official. It's just not the time yet. Make it official is a favorite phrase of people who never make anything official. I called him my husband out of habit. He didn't correct me, and at some point he even said, "You're my wife, basically." Basically. Not legally. Not we have a marriage license. Not we have a certificate. Basically. Basically doesn't protect you when you get tossed out. I met Elaine quickly, too quickly for how fast it became clear. She didn't like me. Elaine lived out in the suburbs, in one of those places where houses sit at perfect distances, lawns look like carpet, and the guard at the gate looks at you like you're not a human being, but a questionable delivery. She opened the door, scanned me from head to toe, and smiled. Polite. Cold. Julie. She said my name like she was tasting something strange. Elaine, I said. She nodded, and that was it. No, nice to meet you, no questions. Just a pause where you suddenly feel like your sweater is wrong, your voice is wrong, and possibly your face is wrong. Logan jumped in fast. Mom, we're not staying long. I just wanted you to meet her. Of course, Elaine said. Come in. Inside, everything was expensive and sterile. White walls, glossy surfaces, not a single extra thing. A house that screams, "No one lives here? People display here." I tried to be pleasant, said the right things, laughed where I was supposed to. Elaine responded like she was speaking to someone from customer support. Later, Logan said, "Don't take it personally. She's just like that." And he added, in that soft way he had, "She just worries about me." People always explain other people's cruelty as concern. It's their way of changing nothing. Elaine never said, "You're not good enough." She did something better. She said, without words, "My son deserves better." Once Logan started talking about a baby in front of her, with enthusiasm, with that same, the project is ready to launch shine, Elaine came alive for the first time. "It's too soon," she said. "You need more stability." "Mom, we've been together almost 2 years," Logan replied calmly. Elaine looked at him, and for a second she softened. Then she turned to me, and the softness vanished. "We'll see," she said. I smiled. Something inside me pinched. She says, "We'll see," like she's the one who decides. The day everything collapsed, Logan called in the morning. His voice was too homey. He usually put it on when he wanted me not to ask extra questions. "Hey, babe," he said. "I need a favor." Favor always sounded almost affectionate coming from Logan. And that was dangerous. "My phone's been in for repairs. I forgot to pick it up. Can you grab it? And swing by my mom's? Leave it there. I'll stop by on my way to the airport." "You're going to the airport from home, though," I started automatically. No, I'm going from the city out to the suburbs, then to O'Hare," he said quickly. "Don't overthink it. Just leave the phone, okay?" "Don't overthink it," was his second favorite slogan. The first was, "I'm here." Both meant the same thing. Don't think. Do what I said. So I went. The repair shop was normal. Glass, smiles, clear instructions, a receipt like a small punch to the wallet. They handed me the phone in a bag. Told me to sign. I signed. Then the drive to the suburbs, the gate, the guard, the pass. And all of it just to leave a tiny piece of metal and plastic on a table for a woman who treated me like a temporary glitch. Elaine was supposed to be out of town. Logan said she was on vacation. The house would be empty. I'd leave the phone on the kitchen counter and go. The house really was empty. I unlocked the door with the code Logan called our family code, and back then it seemed sweet. Now it sounds like a joke vampires tell each other. I put the phone on the table. I was about to leave, and then the screen lit up. A notification. A video. I don't know why I hit play. Curiosity? The habit of being useful? Wanting to check whether the phone had broken again? Pick whichever you like. The outcome's the same. On the screen was Victoria. I saw her face and immediately understood. She was the kind of woman who could make me feel not enough, even in an expensive dress. She had a champagne flute, a tan, a smile straight out of a teeth-whitening commercial. She had that look like the world exists for her pleasure, and everyone else is just service. "Hi, baby," she said. "I've missed you." Something very simple clicked in my head. She says it the way people talk to a husband. "I hope you're not calling it a business trip again," Victoria smirked. "Be honest, you're flying home." Home. Then she said my name. "Julie is so sweet. Simple. Exactly like you wanted." My fingers went cold. "But Logan," Victoria's voice turned irritated. "We had a deal. If by the end of the year nothing happens, we move to Plan B." She rolled her eyes. "And spare me the love performance. You do what you have to do. We do what we have to do." Pause. "I'm not about to start over at 45. If Julie can't, find another one. Healthy. Defenseless. No family. There are plenty." I stood in Elaine's kitchen staring at the screen like it might explode. Plan B sounded like marketing, like strategy talk, project, launch, results. The video ended, leaving Victoria's face on the screen. Beautiful, confident, alive. And me, not. "I see you found our little family drama," a voice said behind me. I spun so fast I almost dropped the phone. Elaine stood in the doorway, with a travel bag, with keys, and an expression like she'd expected this, and was tired of expecting it. You were supposed to," I stammered. "My flight was delayed," Elaine said evenly. "For hours. I decided to come back." She looked at the screen. "And here we are. Of course." I tried to turn the phone off. My hands were shaking. "I just left it like Logan asked." "I know what he asked," Elaine cut in. Pause. "Julie, you need to understand one thing. In this story, you're not my son's girlfriend. You're—" She searched for a word that wouldn't sound completely monstrous. "Resource," she finished. I tried to laugh. It was the kind of laugh that happens when your brain refuses to accept reality. "This is some mistake. It's the video. Maybe she's just his mistress?" Elaine gave a crooked little smile. "Mistress?" she repeated. "Cute." And she looked straight at me. "The mistress isn't Victoria." I stopped breathing. "Victoria is his wife," Elaine said. "Legally. For real. Marriage certificate, the whole thing. Insurance. Shared life in New York." "No," I said. "That's not possible." Because if it was possible, then everything I had was just a set. Elaine walked into the kitchen slowly and sat down. Not on a chair, on the throne she took in every room. "Logan never married you, Julie," she said. "And he never planned to." I tried to replay every conversation we'd ever had about, "We'll make it official later." And suddenly, I realized I'd never once seen him even Google county clerk office. I expected Elaine to start stomping on me. "Your fault." "You should have thought." But she looked worn out. "I don't like you," she said plainly. And I'm not ashamed of that. But I'm ashamed of something else. I knew, and I stayed quiet. I stared at her like she'd confessed to murder and offered me a tissue. Why? I whispered. Why all of this? Elaine exhaled. Victoria can't have children, she said. It's congenital. It's not something a romantic movie fixes. She lifted a hand like she was stopping my questions before they started. Yes, there are options: surrogacy, donor eggs, adoption through an agency, foster care, therapy for God's sake. But Victoria isn't the type who chooses options. She chooses hers. So, I swallowed. They decided the child had to be Logan's biologically, Elaine said, and that it had to happen naturally. Victoria's idea. If the mother truly loves Logan, the baby will come out right. She gave a humorless little scoff. Rich people love inventing philosophy to justify their whims. I remembered how Logan talked about a baby. Too polished. Too intense. How he kept a calendar of good days, like we weren't people but a spreadsheet. So my voice cracked. I was a try? Elaine nodded. A plan, she said. And the plan had a deadline. I felt myself starting to shake, not from hysteria, from the cold inside. But if I'd gotten pregnant, I whispered. What would they have done? Elaine looked at me calmly, too calmly for this subject. Logan would have established paternity, she said. And then it would have started. Family court, motions, filings, the best lawyers money can buy, evaluations, psychologists, speeches about the best interests of the child. She leaned forward slightly. This is America. You don't take a child with a phone call. You break people differently. You drag it out. You bury them with resources. Pause. If you don't have money, if you don't have support, if you don't have a solid family, you get exhausted. And then they offer you a peaceful solution, a payout, an NDA. Sign it and disappear. The word disappear landed like something she'd said before, like something she'd watched happen. And you were okay with that? I asked, and for the first time there was anger in my voice. Finally. Elaine looked away. I was afraid, she said, and because I've already been part of something similar. I saw her fingers tighten on the armrest, like she was holding herself inside a frame so she wouldn't fall apart. Andrew Sullivan, she said, Logan's father. The name sounded like a door no one opened. Once I thought I could leave, Elaine went on. That I could start over. I fell in love. She smiled with one corner of her mouth. A swim instructor. Can you imagine? I thought it was a romance. But Andrew thought it was an insult. And one day that man vanished. I swallowed. The police? I asked. Elaine looked at me like I'd asked why rain is wet. Police like evidence, she said. Andrew liked the absence of it. Pause. I stayed. I learned to keep quiet, and I thought Logan would be different. She inhaled slowly. I was wrong. I sat across from Elaine, realizing the woman in front of me wasn't just an evil mother-in-law. She was someone who'd spent her whole life surviving in a beautiful cage. And now she'd decided my cage wouldn't be as pretty. What do? I asked, and it sounded pathetic. But in moments like that, you don't get to choose. Elaine stood up. First, stop being convenient, she said. Then disappear. She grabbed a notepad and wrote an address. This is a fertility clinic. Private, legit. Not some office in a basement. You'll get evaluated. She lifted her eyes. Not for them. For you. Pause. But the result will help us. You want... I didn't finish. I want Logan to lose interest in you faster than he can invent a new scheme, Elaine said. If he decides you're not a fit for his project, he'll leave on his own. Cruel? Yes. But in that moment, I didn't need mercy. I needed an exit. And if he gets angry? I asked. Elaine gave a small, dry smile. He'll be angry either way. And then, quieter. The point is, he doesn't have time to become dangerous. I went home like a ghost. The apartment was the same. Bright, expensive, hours. But now everything looked like a set. I walked room to room and saw not comfort, but fingerprints of someone else's plan. Here he told me I didn't need to work. Here he talked about a baby like it was an investment. Here he dodged courthouse talk because it's not the time. Logan called that evening. You left the phone at my mom's? He asked. His voice was calm, normal, like he hadn't sold me on a video call that morning. Yes, I said. Great, Logan replied. Thank you. I'm flying out tomorrow. Pause. You okay? That you okay wasn't care. It was a test. You don't know anything, right? Tired, I said. Rest, Logan said softly. I love you. I gripped the phone so hard my fingers went white. And I love you, I replied. In that moment, words were just sounds. I said it to stay alive. I went in for the evaluation 2 days later. Funny, I'd spent my whole life being afraid of doctors, and now I was looking to them for salvation. The clinic was sterile, expensive, calm. The receptionist smiled like pain didn't exist, only insurance plans. I did the labs, the ultrasound, the consults, and then I sat in my car in the parking lot, staring at the steering wheel and thinking, I'm really doing this so the man who loves me will leave me faster. A week later, I had the results. Clear enough to kill a dream, official enough to turn into a weapon. Elaine called first. Well? She asked. I told her. There was silence on the other end. I'm sorry, Elaine finally said, and it didn't sound polite. It sounded like a woman who knows what words cost. Pause. But it'll save you. Save you. A word that shouldn't be used in a conversation about your body. But here we were. Logan flew in for 2 days. He walked into the apartment with the same calm face he'd worn when he put the jerk in line in his place. Only now the jerk was life. Hey, he said, and kissed my cheek. Quick, formal. I handed him the folder. He didn't even look surprised I had it. He looked surprised I wasn't smiling. He flipped through the papers. His face didn't change, but I saw his jaw twitch. The smallest movement, like a crack. Is this definite? He asked. That's what the doctor said, I replied. Logan looked up. And you didn't tell me sooner? There it was, the moment they make you guilty for not fitting someone else's scheme. I didn't know, I said. He set the folder on the table like it was trash. Okay, he said flatly. No, we'll figure it out. No, we'll try options. No talk of surrogacy or adoption. Because it was never about we, it was about the project. I don't think we should keep doing this, Logan said. I expected pain. Instead, I got something like relief, like when a tooth stops hurting and you realize the nerve is dead. Just like that, I asked, and my voice didn't even shake. Don't make a drama out of it, Julie, Logan said softly, and that softness was the worst part. I wanted a family. I wanted a child. I was honest. I almost laughed. Honest, said the man with a wife in New York. Logan grabbed his suitcase. I'll send you money, he added. For a little while. Pause. And let's not do hysterics, okay? He left like he was closing a deal, and then he called a couple hours later, already at the airport, noise around him, business tone. We're done. I don't see the point in dragging it out. And, as a bonus, I hope you handle it with dignity. Dignity. I sat on the floor in our shared apartment and thought, how convenient that dignity is always demanded by the people who cause the pain. Elaine came the next day. She didn't ring the bell, she had the code, because it was a family home. She walked into the living room and looked around like she was assessing what was left of me. He left? She asked. Yes, I said. Elaine nodded. For a second, she closed her eyes. Good, she said. That means we have a chance to do this clean. Clean? I echoed. Fast, Elaine corrected. And in a way where he won't change his mind, won't start helping, and won't figure out how to take control back. She pulled out an envelope. Documents for a house by the ocean. Florida. Small. Quiet. She looked up. You're leaving. I stared at the envelope like it belonged to someone else's life. What is this? Hush money? I asked. Elaine didn't bristle. If anything, she seemed to expect it. No, she said. It's an attempt to give you something back. Pause. And it's an attempt to make up for my guilt. She hesitated. I knew, and I let him use you. Now I'm doing what I should have done sooner. Why did you even help them? I asked, and the anger came back. I didn't know what word to pick without turning it into a scream. Elaine answered calmly. Because Victoria is part of my life the same way Logan is. Because New York, money, status, it's all one system. Pause. And because I thought you were just temporary. She looked right at me. I was wrong. You're a person, and you don't get to be someone's project. I took the envelope. Not out of gratitude, out of common sense. Life taught me that sometimes salvation looks like cold calculation, and that's fine. Will he forgive you? I asked. Elaine gave a small, dry smile. Logan doesn't forgive, she said. He just crosses people out. I stood and started packing. The strangest thing was, I wasn't crying. I'd wanted to cry earlier, back when I believed I was loved. The move was fast. I sold, donated, trashed anything that smelled like our life. I changed my number, reset passwords, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was doing something not for Logan, but for me. Florida met me with heat, humidity, and that endless ocean that doesn't ask questions. The house really was small. White walls, simple furniture, an ocean-facing window. Not a palace, but not a cage. The first few weeks, I lived like after a car crash. You eat, you sleep, you pretend you're fine, and inside, you still hear grinding metal. Sometimes I dreamed about Logan. In those dreams, he was always calm, always correct, and he always said, "Don't make a drama, Julie." I'd wake up and laugh, not because it was funny, because otherwise I'd break. Elaine texted sometimes, short, "You okay?" I'd answer, Yeah. We both knew okay is a word for people who don't have the strength for the truth. Time passed. I got a job. Simple. Honest. Where nobody called me basically a wife. I learned to pay for myself again, and it turned out to be wildly therapeutic. I met Matthew by accident at a small cafe near the house. He was ordinary, and it was perfect. No projects, no plans, no predator shine behind the eyes. We talked for a long time. Then again, he didn't promise to make my life perfect. He just made it feel calm next to him. When we got married, we went to the courthouse and did it the way grown-ups do. Paperwork, signatures, witnesses. No, basically. Sometimes, on the quietest nights, the thought still came. What if Logan and Victoria have already found a new Julie? Another one. Healthy. Defenseless. No family. I didn't want to live in paranoia, but I couldn't forget. One day, I texted Elaine one message. Are they still doing it? The reply came fast, dry, in her style. I'm watching, and I'm not staying quiet again. I read it a few times, and for the first time, I felt a strange, bitter calm. Because justice, apparently, doesn't always look like courtrooms and speeches. Sometimes it looks like a cold woman named Elaine finally deciding she's done being part of someone else's evil. And me? I just decided to live. And yeah, sometimes that's the most defiant thing of all. Appreciate you being here. If you enjoyed this, please like the video and subscribe. It really helps the channel. Drop a comment with your thoughts, because I read them all. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon with another story.